when we first connected, the one thing that I realized was how I knew it was gonna work. And this is, I mean, you came to Remix. I introduced you to Remix Project. And the way that I introduced you to Remix Project, we talked about it, and I said, hey, if you're really serious about this business, you should look into this thing. But I don't know if you remember this, but it wasn't even me who said, here's the application you should apply. The way that it went down is I put it on my Facebook, and I said, if any artists are serious about the music business, you should apply for the Remix Project. Yeah, I was just thinking about this the other day.
Crazy.
So I didn't tell you, and it was the last day that applications were due. It was the last day. And for those who don't know, the Remix Project is a nonprofit organization for kids at risk, you know, between the ages who don't have access between the ages of 17 to 24. It might have changed now, but they give them free schooling for recording, creative arts, business of music.
Access to mentorship.
Pretty much anybody and everybody in Toronto who's in the industry has some type of relationship with the Remix Project. It's changed a lot of lives. It really is ground zero for a lot of what you see on a global stage.
Yeah. So
many pivotal, important, I don't want to say important, but like game-changing individuals came out of the Remix Project. And you're one of those people. You were a participant in there. Arguably, I would say you're the most successful participant. Definitely the most successful artist out of the project. But I think you and Future the Prince might be battling who's the most successful participant, because he was a participant in the project. But that's what it is. And I posted it on my Facebook, and it was the last day. And then you hit me a day later, and you're like, yo, I applied. I was like, oh, dope.
No way.
That's how it went down.
I don't remember that. That's
how it went down. Yeah.
No shit.
If I didn't post that, I told you about it like a couple of months prior.
Months before, yeah. And then it was like lax.
Kind of went away. And then I posted it on Facebook.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Real talk.
And the day before it was the last day.
The last day of applications being submitted. Yeah. And then you went, you're like, yo, I applied. I was like, oh, dope. I didn't even think about like posting that for you to go and apply or any of that. None of that.
No way.
Yeah, that's how it went down.
Crazy.
And then you got into the program, and the rest is history. But what I saw, because I consider myself to have really good work ethic, is what I saw is that your work ethic was matching mine, if not exceeding it. This one was in there, and this is, before, I don't think you've even heard anything at this point from Jessie, but
no,
this one is in there basically like the school would close at 10 p.m. Everybody would leave except, some people. Like I'd be in there staying late because I was director in residence, I think this is the title of mine, and my production company operated out of there. But like if I wasn't there, if I was there, she's hanging out because I'd be in there working late, and then she'd be working and doing her thing. But if I wasn't there, this girl would hide behind a door and wait till everybody left, because she knew that the dean of the program was still there working on his music as well. So everybody would leave. Yeah, exactly. Is Daniel Daly, who ended up the music I think he was working on was Division. Yeah. But she would hide for
in the production room
for like 30 minutes. Yeah. And then once you would hear the music going on in the studio, then she'd get back to work.
Crazy.
And then Daniel would come and be like,
and then he'd hear vibrations and he'd be like, who the fuck is still here?
Yeah. But that's the work ethic that, I saw that early on. I was like, oh, this one is like serious about this thing. And then it can't go understated as well to the relationship with King Louie. Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. I love that motherfucker.
Shout out to King Louie. Shout out to Doe.
Shout out to Doe. Shout out to King Louie. Shout out to Obama.
Yes. Not the President Obama. We're talking about Obama who's in that crew there, who's in Mubu.
Yeah. Shout out Chicago, man. King Louie came to speak at the Remix Project, and I remember I walked into the studio and the room was full, and I was like, oh shit, and I introduced myself to everybody and I left. And then when I had left, Gav was like, oh yeah, she's one of the participants, let me play you one of the songs. And he played him this one song I had called Statuses that was about subtweets before subtweets were called subtweets. And then he came out and he was like, that's about subtweets or whatever. And I was like, yeah. He was like, that's dope. And I was like, thanks. And then he did his talk. And then it was great. It was motivating. And then they were done, and he came over, and he was like, oh, no, his manager hit us, right? His manager was like, yo, Louie said he wants to work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Doe said Louie wants to work. Let's link after. They're going to figure out a studio, something like that. And then no studio was figured out, but we had a condo, and it was
Ricardo
condo.
Chung.
Right. It was Ricardo's.
Shout out Ricardo.
Shout out Ricardo.
Shout out Tough Juice.
And we went there, and it was so funny because everyone that got invited was pretty much like a producer, a rapper, but like people that had shit to play. And I didn't have shit to play. I have nothing to play. And I walk in there, and it's Wonder Girl, and it's Sean Leon, and it's Redway, rest in peace, was in there. And
Spooky Black was in there.
And Doc McKinney. It was a heavy room.
Spooky Black was there randomly.
Yeah, it was a heavy
Toronto.
room.
Yeah.
And I'm there with my guitar, and we're like, fuck. And I was so nervous. I'll never forget being so nervous. And I remember thinking that this was an opportunity that I couldn't blow it, regardless of how nervous I was. And then Louie was rolling his blunt, and I was like, fuck this, I'm doing it. And I got up, and I was like, do you want to jam? And he was like, what? And I was like, do you want to jam?
King Louie, a drill rapper from Chicago.
Yeah. He was like,
Bob Marley?
Yo. and then I started playing, and then he started he started freestyling, and then we ended up vibing, and then we ended up on the balcony, and then we made Living in the Sky.
Yes.
And then that night, I remember, actually not that night, that afternoon. That's funny, I talked about this yesterday when I did the Journeys thing. Shout out Remix and Remix Ambassadors. We walked downstairs and we went to that little restaurant. Do you remember this?
Yeah, Liberty.
And we were having like chicken wings or something, and
Yeah.
it was like the first moment that we were like, something's happening. We're doing this.
Yeah.
I think
I think I said to you, I'm like, yo, I think I should manage you or something.
Yeah,
like
that was the day that shit. But I just remember that sentence, like, we're doing this.
Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, we're doing this. Let's go.
Yeah, and then
No experience.
no experience.
Just trying to figure this thing the fuck out. Just like how you were.
Yeah.
My
And-
experience was the extent of like
A music videos.
videos.
Yeah.
And working with managers and artists.
Yeah.
A lot of bad managers.
Mm-hmm.
And really good artists.
Yeah,
And
and
then
really good managers.
one of...
I
Yeah.
remember you always used to say that.
Yes.
You always used to be like, oh, there's a lot of bad ones.
Yeah. There's a few good ones.
A lot of bad ones.
Yeah, you were... Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
You were one of the most terrible managers I've ever met.
Yeah. And then that night, we were so gung ho, and this is why like momentum is so fucking important that people forget to like understand that you can't fucking. Oh my god, you can't. And I'm guilty of it. Like I need to be reminded of this sometimes, but sometimes we need people to help us remind ourselves of the knowledge that we already have. But you have to fucking take advantage of momentum. And that night, momentum was in the air. And I was like, I got to get this done tonight. And then you hit Ricky. And Ricky was like, yeah, we could open up the studio for her. And because of Remix Project was the only reason that I knew how to, like, engineer myself on Pro Tools. So then I ended up recording my shit that night. Yeah. And I was like, did the guitar, did some shitty drum beat on the guitar. Was, like, back and forth just to record my own shit. Record my own vocals from the booth to the room, from the booth to the room. All night. Got something decent. And then I can't remember if we sent it. Yeah, I sent it straight like that.
Yeah,
and then Louie sent back the verse, and then Moose niced it up.
Yeah, he put the production at
And
the
then
end of that.
yeah. And then Louie released it, and then Chance liked it, and Chance heard
This was
it.
months later.
Months
that
later.
he released it. We were in Atlanta for A3C
Yeah,
when it came out.
yeah,
But we were also strategically we were thinking as well too. It's better to put it out as King Louie featuring Jessie, even though you did 90% of the majority of the song, but because he had a name,
yeah,
it was like it'll make more sense instead of the other way around.
yeah.
You put out Living in the Sky. We're in the studio in Atlanta, I think that same week or in and around that time, and can't forget about Nico Nice as well. He did some crazy artwork.
Shout
on
out
that.
Nico Nice.
Nico Nice.
And his fucking lit ass eye.
Amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
amazing.
Taste is so like.
Yeah, his taste is.
Taste is so underrated.
Yeah.
Taste is so underrated for how relevant that shit is in somebody's like aesthetic and what somebody's putting forward. Like, and that boy has it.
Yeah, definitely. And you caught a lot of people's attention in Chicago. I would argue that more people knew you in Chicago than Toronto at the time.
Yeah, no,
people knew you in Toronto, and I still say this to this day. I don't care if it's 2024 and the music business or things have changed because of social media, but I feel like if your home city can't claim you, like, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. I think your home city really needs to claim who you are. And in the scene, everybody knew who Jessie Reyez was, in large part due to the remix and a lot of introductions that you did and some showcases. Mm-hmm. But like on a larger scale, I think Chicago knew more about you than Toronto did because of that record with King Louie.
Yeah, Chicago was the first place in the States to fuck with me.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes for most artists, that's sometimes how home grabs you, is like they have to see somebody leave.
That's at least, you know what, it's in Toronto that used to be very fucking normal.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be really normal to be like, well, the States started fucking with you. Okay, now we'll
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And in my case, it was Chicago fucked with me first.
Yeah, it's true.
Chicago fucked with me first.
And that was when Chance the Rapper, he said, I think this is one of my favorite King Louie songs.
And tweeted it. Yeah. And then we linked up with their squad, and then we started going to every single fucking show. We became a shadow to that squad, to the point that it might have been a little weird. So shout out to them for letting us just hang.
Nah, they were cool, man.
So cool. We learned so much, man. Shout out Pat, too. Like, everyone was just mad cool, and it was so sick as someone that had no fucking, like, no experience, no knowledge, no nothing, and being able to, like, watch him command a stage, being able to watch how they moved, being able to, like, it was just so beneficial.
It was a different time, but, and, you know, like, I know Chance and Pat, they're going through their things, and I hope that the things are resolved, but, like, you can't discredit how they changed the game.
They changed the game.
Pat and Chance absolutely changed the game. If you want to take that away from them, go for it. But we were there. We were outside and we saw it firsthand. Yeah. And we saw it so much. I don't know if you guys remember this, but every single meeting when the bidding war started happening with you, every meeting people were talking about Chance and Pat and trying their best to discredit them.
Discredit it.
Because they were afraid that
was going to be the
norm.
That
was the model.
And it started, and it did become that. Yeah. But Pat, specifically with me, I mean, you know, he was, he's younger than me, but he was a mentor to me. He was super helpful. And I had bare questions for that guy. Yeah. And he always answered them. It was always super helpful. And I remember him saying it. He's like, you don't need the record labels. You don't need them. And, you know, like, you can do it this way. And he's like, and I remember saying to him, because we were talking about distribution, I go, well, how did you put the music up? He's like, TuneCore. I was like, what? That's it?
$10.
Yeah. And I know people want to talk about the Apple Music thing and everything, but it's like, yeah, they still own 100% of the copyrights, whether Apple Music gave them a bag or not. You can put the music in front of people, but if the people don't gravitate towards it, then they don't gravitate towards it. Carl, I want to say, and maybe some other people there, identified that people were connecting with Chance's music, and they put it in front of more people. Back when TikTok wasn't a thing and editorial was, people started really fucking with Chance. But like, that was all completely independent, man. Yeah, you built your relationships through the way, but that's what you do. It's a business of relationships. That's what you do. So yeah, shout out to those guys, because they were super instrumental in our career and what we did. But yeah, that's when in Toronto started coming around and hearing about you. But then we went to LA.
Yeah, well, shit started growing, and then you sent stuff over to Busy to get some advice and some ears on it.
Yes.
And then the team started growing, and then around that time was when you sent it to Jeremiah.
Yep.
And then Jeremiah was like, "This shit's kind of dope."
I was telling earlier, I was like, I remember him having like a very blasé, like, yeah, it's cool.
Shut up, really?
Yeah, and then
no way, that was it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's cool. She's got dope tone.
Not with me.
Yeah,
when we spoke.
And then he hit me and he's like, yo, he loves it. And I was like, oh, sick. He was playing it very fucking cool with me.
No way.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Played it very fucking
very cool.
That's funny.
But yeah, Jeremiah was like pivotal in
so much.
Yeah, like I don't think I would have made the move to LA if he hadn't kind of like started that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we moved.
That's crazy.
When we did the pub deal with him,
Yeah.
we got that check.
with Sunreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When you say we,
Yeah.
you mean Sunreal.
Yeah,
right?
me and Sunreal, when we got that check, we basically used that to get to LA, and then Jeremiah helped us, was floating us around and helping with the label conversations, and then we made the final move
Okay.
in 2015, and then I joined the team February 2016.
Yeah.
By way of like showing Jeremiah and you guys were coming to the crib at that
Yeah,
time,
crashing at your house
crashing at the house.
on an air mattress.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah, that shitty air mattress. Yeah.
Bananas. Yeah, and
There's
then
cat hair everywhere.
yeah, and I had wicked allergies, but,
Oh, yeah,
but I didn't
that's
have that
right.
much money, so we were staying at the crib,
Deal with it.
dealing with
Yeah,
it.
there's a right
No,
eye
we were
down the
pulling up
street.
to LA. We were figuring out every which way possible. Man.
3 sessions a day was
Yeah.
the norm.
No, but
Yeah.
even D-Lo was letting us crash in his condo
D-Lo,
as well
we
too.
crashed
Yeah.
at D-Lo's condo too.
Yeah.
The
People were
Hesby.
just trying to help however they could, you know. Hesby,
Yeah.
that's wow. I
Yeah.
forgot that was the name of it, but like everybody was. People saw
believed.
well, because I think a major part of it is your talent for sure. They believed, but you saw we were working our asses off.
willing shit into existence. Like we just refused to take a L.
Yeah.
Refused.
Yeah, everything was gonna be a win
Mm-hmm.
somehow.
Yeah.
I think going back to that work ethic thing you talked about is like that's another important part about the artists that push through is that you refuse to take the L, but you all start taking L's every day.
Yeah.
Every day is a
Nonstop.
fucking L.
No, every day's enough.
Every day's an L, but you don't those L's don't even phase you. Like you gotta let L's roll off your
Yeah.
back
You
because
just
really, if
consume
you break down
obstacles.
this industry and you break down people, you're taking more L's than you're taking
Way
W's.
more.
Yeah.
Way more. And you
You're
can't be afraid
taking
of
the
it.
L's just to get the one W. And
But
that-
that's like
it's-
that.
it's
That's
your
like that
shit that you
Kobe
say.
stat.
It's
your
That's
shit.
like that. Like how many? If you
Yeah,
really
yeah.
work out how many fucking shots to why you have that many, you've missed a lot.
You missed a lot.
You've missed
Yeah.
a lot. But that's what it takes.
yeah,
What were you gonna say?
Well, you say it all the time. Feel faster.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
there was
just
a lot of that.
it's just failing over and over and over, and then your definition of like what a W is obviously changes, because like, you know, you do 1 million streams first week. Some people that's a W. You get to a certain
100%.
point in your career, you're like, that's not a W anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So even as you succeed, your definition of a W changes, and then so by nature of that, you're just taking more L's again,
Yeah.
and it's just trying to level up.